We have Dr. Saniyyah Mayo has cultivated a relationship with the written word since haiku. Thank you. Haiku poetry assignment in 5th grade. A strong interest in the social sciences led to a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I bet you never thought you'd be doing this when you were in criminal justice. And her working with at-risk youth. These opportunities expose her to complexities of how related cycles of behavior can have on individual psyche, even if they don't realize it. Recognizing the recurring social and psychological problems, she expanded her expertise in clinical psychology with a focus on marriage and family therapy, for which she received a master's degree. This provided her with solid theoretical background to pen Identifying and Breaking the Cycle, her self-published book focusing on how generational cycles can have an effect on an individual's life even when they don't realize it. She recently completed a book titled Transition of a Butterfly and is currently shopping her manuscript around as well as her screenplay, Misled. She is a psychotherapist, motivational speaker, author, and screenwriter. She has recently started her own online talk show, Talk with Saniyyah, and she organized a women's empowerment seminar where she served as the keynote speaker in July 2016, focusing on women and young girls loving themselves. She kicked off the Girls Gospel and Women's Network campaign in the spring of 2016 that touched young girls and women around the U.S. She is currently creating workshops that focus on individuals finding their passion so that they may pursue their purpose. The latest accolade to add to her name is Dr. Congratulations. She recently was presented with an honorary doctorate in the areas of humanities. She is talented in many areas and inspires many of her gifts of provoking thought to change life. Dr.
So I gave you that, wanted you guys to have the piece of paper and pencil, because I want you guys to write down 3 to 5 things that you are passionate about. So I'm going to start. So I want to ask you guys a question. How many people have ever asked the question, why am I created, or why am I here? By a show of hands. Now I want to ask you the question, how many people can actually answer that question, why they were created? So usually when I often ask the question, I've asked a lot of people this question, they always give me their job title or their role. So they'll say mother, father, sister, CEO, social worker, or their job description. That kind of ties in, but that has nothing to do with your purpose. It's not your purpose. I want to share some stories with you that I went through as a kid. When I was a kid, I've always been the go-to person. I always gave advice. People always came to me and told me about their problems. Even now, I could be in the grocery store and someone will tell me their whole life story, and I'm like, do I have therapist written over my forehead? Because it happens all the time. In the 6th grade, I got into a physical altercation with the girl. And we had a group of maybe 10 of us. We were all friends. And she ended up telling the principal that they didn't speak to her because I told them not to. Now, at 12 years old, I'm sitting in that meeting and I'm thinking to myself, I've never told any of my friends not to speak to her. But that was a defining moment for me. I realized that I was a leader. Because even though I did not tell my friends not to speak to this other friend, they were doing it without me saying so. Another defining moment for me was when I was 10, the haiku poem. My 5th grade teacher, she had us do an assignment. Now, after she had us do that assignment, I fell in love with writing and poetry. Poetry is my first love. It served a purpose because 2 years later, I lost my brother, my only brother. He died in a tragic accident. And my family, my parents, they really didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know to go get us counseling and different things like that. So how do you think I coped?
Word about it.
Writing. And that became my outlet. At 12 years old, I didn't even know that was a coping skill. But I would journal and I would write because I didn't have anyone to write or talk to or tell how I was feeling. So that was what I did. And then at 12, I don't know why a lot of stuff happens at 12, but it happened at 12. I was with my 2 older sisters, and they're 2 and 3 years older than me. And they wanted to go hang out with their boyfriends. So we get there, and I see all these different guys. And they're teenagers and they're adults. And I'm like, I don't want to be in here. This seems like a bad situation. I want to go. So my sisters are like, if you go home, then mom will ask where we're at. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I won't tell on you, but I'm not staying here. Something bad is going to happen. We could either get raped
are molested. So my older sisters, they wanted to be with their boyfriends. They didn't listen to me. Now, at the time we stayed in San Bernardino, it was just as bad as it is now. And it was nighttime, and I did not want to walk home by myself. But I wasn't going to stay there either. So I took the chances of walking home by myself. My sisters came home later that night. They wanted to go back the next day. I said, I'm not going. So I had a friend that was like 2 or 3 years older than me. She was my sister's age while she hung with me, I don't know. And they offered her to go with them. I said, don't go with them because something bad is going to happen. They won't listen to me. Do not go with them. They decide to go off anyways. My sister comes back hours later crying to my mom, says she was raped. Now, at 12 years old, when she came in crying, my response was, that's what you get. That wasn't the appropriate response, but at 12, I was thinking, I told you, you're 2 years older than me. Shouldn't you know this? Shouldn't you already know what the outcome would be with you guys being at the house with all these guys? I shouldn't have responded like that, but that was my mindset at 12. Then another defining moment for me was when I was in college. You know, when you do your prereqs, you have to take a communication class, and every time we would do our group projects, they would nominate me to be the speaker, and I would be so upset because I feel like they were trying to get out of the assignment. And they would say, you're the best speaker in the group. I'm thinking, no, I'm not. I hate speaking. All my life, I felt like my voice was deep, and I kind of sounded like a boy. So even when we watch home videos, I never really wanted to hear myself. So when they would say that, I'm like, okay, they're just trying to get out of this assignment. How many people dismiss something when somebody tells you're good at something? You're like, no, I'm not.
I just did it like 5 minutes.
So they were pretty much showing me or seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself. So fast forward years later, I'm working at the county of San Bernardino in front of a computer all day, upset, frustrated, feel like I'm in a rat race because nothing is working out for me. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. And I'm like, what am I here for? Who's ever cried out and asked, why am I here? This is a question that a lot of people ask all the time. I find it over and over and over. And I'm like, my life has to be more than just this job. And as women, you know, I'm a mother of 3 and I'm a wife. So my life had become, I'm either their mother or his wife. That was my identity. Who is Saniyyah outside of these 2 roles? And that's why I say when I ask and they say I'm a mother, you're far beyond a mother. You're far beyond a brother. What is your purpose? And so I started to cry and I started to seek, like, what am I here for? It's more to me than just this. And then things dawned on me. So them stories I shared with y'all thought they didn't have any relevance, right? Or y'all probably was thinking, why did she share this? Be honest, you can tell me. The relevance of the stories, I was always the go-to person. That moment at 12 years old, when I felt like common sense is common, when it's really not, I felt like they should have had insight. But what I've learned was that I had insight and I could see behaviors, or I could not predict, but I could see the outcome of certain situations before other people could. And so I'm thinking everybody thinks like this, but I was wrong. Everybody does not think like you, because one thing about your purpose, people can't do the stuff that you do. They may be able to do it, but not like you. Somebody raise their hand and tell me something that they're good at. Anybody? Takers? Just throw something out that you're good at.
No one's good at it.
You gotta be good at something. There's no right or wrong answer. Let's just say somebody's good at baking pies, right? There might be a lot of people that could bake pies, but guess what? They can't bake pies like you. My mom had told me something that was so simple but so profound. She told me, she said, she was on a committee and they were trying to get speakers and she wanted me to come speak. And she said the people on the committee kept saying, we got to get this great author and all these different great authors. And she said, they may be great authors, but they may not be great speakers. Like, what? You mean to tell me somebody that can write can't speak? Because I could do it. I thought it was just normal, it went hand in hand, but it doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. Your gifts, your talents are unique. Everyone can't do it like you. Another thing with the stories was the speaker. I told you I hated to speak. But once I realized that I was good at it, I would say, oh, I could be not just a speaker, but a keynote speaker. Even that time when I was in the principal's office in the 6th grade at 12 years old, I realized not that I was just a leader, but I was able to influence people. See, all leaders don't have the ability to influence. I'm going to give you a prime example. You might see someone, they may be eccentric, awkward, whatever. They may dress different. They're a leader because they don't do anything that everybody else does. But they don't have the influence to make people follow them. So when I got that, I'm like, okay, it started to make sense. And I started to see my passions because guess what? Your passion pushes your purpose. So the things that we minimize and we think, oh, it's nothing. Because all my life, when people told me I was a good speaker, I was an advice giver and all these different things, I didn't see it. I didn't see how it could go into my purpose. I just thought it was something I was good at and everybody could do it. But everybody couldn't do it. So then when I started to see how my passion played out into my purpose, I had to change my mindset. Who has negative people around them? We don't like to admit it, but we do. I had to change my mindset because let me tell you something about me. I was a high school dropout. My husband and I had our first kid at 16. And so everybody expected Saniyyah to be another statistic. I was supposed to be on welfare. We were not supposed to be celebrating 18 years of marriage this year because people counted me out. And we all know when people count you out sometimes, especially when it's from your loved ones, you begin to believe what they speak. You take it on as it's your own thoughts, but in reality, it's something that's spoken into you, now you're believing. So I had to break away from my cultural and family norms. I had to get away from some people. Because let me tell you, when you start to find your purpose, everybody's not going to like it, they're not going to agree with it, and they're not going to want you to do it. Let me ask you guys a question. How many people in here, if you told your family, I'm moving to Afghanistan, there's some work for me out there I got to do, how many people family would be on board? They would think you're crazy, right? But just because they think you're crazy doesn't mean that's not your purpose. And that's what they were saying. You're going to speak? You're going to write? No, you're not. So I had to get away from those people. I had to break it off. I had to change my mindset and break those cycles. So then when I began to walk in my purpose, guess what I found out? It wasn't about me. I went to school, got degrees, got all this knowledge, and you mean to tell me my purpose is not about me? See, our purpose is far beyond us. My purpose is to provoke thought to ultimately change the behaviors of people. What is the point of me having a degree and all this knowledge to not help nobody and keep it to myself? Because we're selfish. It's I went to school. I got a degree. I got this knowledge. Okay, so what are you going to do with it? You need to give it out. It's getting in, but now you need to push it out. And I had to learn that it wasn't about me. I couldn't be self-centered. And so now I'm going out and giving it to people and speaking and doing different things because even in my writing, it's going to be entertaining, but I'm going to make you think because I want to provoke thought because I feel like the only way a person can ever change is if they change up here first. You can never accomplish anything unless you accomplish it in your mind first. I don't care what it is. You have to change your mindset and tackle it here. So I had to change those things. So you guys wrote down your 3 to 5 passions, right? Can somebody now tell me something they're good at? No?
Okay, I'm good at making people laugh when they're sad.
You're good at making people. You know how big that is? I'm not humorous. As you probably could tell, I'm very serious. I don't have a humorous bone in my body. I really don't. And you may be the person that walks in a room where there's tension and bring joy. And that's what I'm saying. But, you know, sometimes we think, oh, that's so little, but it's big because somebody needs that. You don't know. This is the thing. We don't know what somebody's going through outside of the workplace. And sometimes we all know that the workplace can be like high school. I know y'all ain't exempt because it's everywhere. So somebody may need that. Somebody else tell me something they're good at.
I'm good at encouraging others.
Encouraging others. And see, when people are down, we always need an uplift. But see, let me tell you something about her. Because she's the encourager, she's always encouraging other people. And people fail to realize that she's human. Because that's me. Oh, you're strong. No, I need to be encouraged sometimes too. But my point is, everybody has something to offer, but it's not about you. It goes beyond you. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said, well, Saniyyah, what's wrong with somebody saying them being a mom is their purpose? I said, that's fine, them being a mom is their purpose, but what are they putting into their children? See, our purpose should be generation to generation to generation. It should outlive us. So when you leave, somebody should be able to say, do you remember what's your name?
Keisha.
Keisha, how she encouraged. It should go on and on and on. It shouldn't die with you. Because let me tell you something. We all think we're going to live forever, right? So we all have an enter and exit date, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what you do here while you're here, it matters. Right?
Right. Yes.
So how are we impacting others? Because when I leave, I don't want people saying negative stuff about me. They might anyways, because, you know, there might be a few people that don't have something good to say. But I want to leave behind a legacy that goes years beyond me, that helps people through my books, through my writings. Right now I'm working on a screenplay, I just finished the screenplay, Misled. And it talks about human trafficking and how 3 different girls are misled in different ways. Because I'm trying to connect with that generation so they can see something to provoke thought. Because when I have people hear me or see what I write, I want them to change something. Every time I get in front of people, I'm nervous. I'm nervous now. But imagine if I said, I don't like the way I sound. My voice is too deep. I kind of sound like a boy and I didn't speak to people. Where would that leave other people without the information? So you got to step outside of yourself. So I'm going to close and I want to leave you guys with this. If you guys were on your way to London with no blueprint, no directions, or no roadmap, how would you get to London?
Keep swimming east.
How would you get there? You might stop along the way and people might give you directions, but I guarantee you some directions are going to be right and some directions are going to be wrong. And what people usually do when they don't know where to go, they get frustrated, upset, or angry because they're going in circles. They don't know where they're going. But can I tell you something? Walking through life without knowing your purpose is equivalent to going to London without a roadmap. So I'm going to close out. Thank you guys for having me. I didn't bring any books, but here is my business cards if you guys want to order some from my website. You guys be blessed. Thanks.
Thank you.